Welcome to today's webinar on mail and tasks. Do you have sticky notes or to-do lists all over your office, notes on your monitor, your desk, or maybe even your keyboard? What if I told you that you could get rid of all those and track everything electronically using mail and tasks? My name is Shannon. I've been with QHR for 8 years, spending the most recent 6 years as a product trainer. As part of the training team, I teach clients core Accuro workflows as well as Accuro Engage products, which includes online booking, video visits, patient messaging, and appointment notifications. I would like to point out a few items for our live event today. As always, our training team is ready to answer your questions, so be sure to use the Q&A button at the top of your screen. When you click on that, you will see the question and answer pane open on the right side of your window. Click Ask a Question to submit any questions you may have. Click on New Posts to see any newly posted questions and responses. If you've asked a question, once it has been answered by the training team, you will see Show One Comment under the question. Click on that to open the conversation and see the reply. Please enjoy today's event. Although it is live, the presentation is being recorded and will be available in the Accuro resources page should you need to review anything in the future. Not sure where our resources page is? Stick around to the end where I'll show you how to find it. Today, we're going to walk through what mail and tasks are. We'll discuss the similarities and differences between the two. I will show you live examples of when to use mail and tasks, how to use them efficiently, including best practices for each, and how patient messaging connects it all together, completing the communication cycle. So let's jump into Accuro. I'm just going to stop sharing here for a sec and get Accuro open. Just give me uno momento, and we'll share. There we go. Perfect. All right. So mail and tasks are Accuro's internal communication tools. They allow your team to communicate, assign work, track follow-ups, and reduce missed items all inside the EMR. So let's do a quick example of a task. We're in Dr. Square's home section in Accuro. So a quick example of a task is that Dr. Square's patient, Vicky Triangle, has had a referral go out. And Dr. Square wants Jamie, her receptionist, to call Vicky with details of the referral and book a follow-up. So in here, we're in the tasks folder, and we're going to use this quick new tasks button here. The patient is already loaded as the patient of the task because they were the globally selected patient before we created the task. The task drop-down list here, we're going to choose call patient. The priority is normal and the due date is 0 days. The due date is the date for when you want this task to show up in the recipient's task folder. If you need your receptionist to call the patient today, you need to set the due date for today, which you'll see here. Our recipient is selected on the side, so we can see it's selected to Jamie here. And then we'll add the note of call patient with referral details and book her in for follow-up in 2 weeks. All right. So as we can see, the task has a time frame, a due date, is something that needs to be completed, can be overdue, and requires ownership. So think of tasks as something that needs to be done. We're going to click OK at the bottom here, and that'll send off to our staff member, Jamie. Now let's do a quick example of a mail message. Dr. Square is working in her labs folder in the home section, and we can see at the top that a lab has come in for Molly Oval. And the results for the lab are normal. Dr. Square would like to let Jamie know in case Molly, the patient, calls in asking about the results. So from here, we're going to use the new mail message button, which is just right over here. So we still have our patient loaded as they were the globally selected patient, as I had selected the lab result before creating the mail message. The subject is going to be called normal results, and it's just a free type field. The priority, we'll keep it as normal, and our recipient is Jamie Ark. We're just going to write in Molly's creatinine results are normal in case she calls in. All right, so as we can see, a mail message is more of a communication, more of a conversation and used for communication. Think of mail as we need to talk about something. I'll send this off. So everything becomes traceable, trackable, and attached to the correct user. Some clinics use mostly task, some use mostly mail, and many use a combination of both, which is often the most efficient approach. So you can send mail and tasks from other areas of Accuro. For example, if we go to our patient, Bob Diamond's EMR here, and go to the virtual chart or the encounter notes, we can right-click on different items, and there's a send message or send task option through here. You can also create new message and new task quick action buttons in your quick action bar. You can also go to your Accuro menu and type in the word at the top, new, and you'll have a new message and new task option through here as well. So let's go through some mail and task examples again, but slower and in more detail. So as mentioned, tasks are used to assign work and track progress. If we click on the tasks folder, we can use this little arrow on the side to expand it and see the additional folders. We have inbox, completed, and sent. All right, so Dr. Square is still here, and now she's going to be reviewing her documents. We see here up at the top that a PAP test has come back for her patient, Cindy Cylinder, and the results of the PAP test she reviews are normal. Dr. Square wants to follow up with this patient for another PAP test in 3 years. So she's going to create a task for her receptionist, Jamie, to book a PAP test for this patient again in 3 years. So from the task drop-down, we're going to select Book Patient. But oh no, Book Patient is missing from this task list. So you can customize this task list at your clinic by going to the Manage option here. We can add a new task by using the Add button and enter the task name here. If this is a task that others at the clinic also need to use, keep the global checkbox checked off. If this is a task that only you personally use, you can uncheck global and it will only appear in the task list when you are looking at the task list. So we'll say okay and close. And now our book patient option is here. It sorts in alphabetical order. So right up at the top. All right, so our priority is normal, and then our due date is going to be 3 years. You can select a more specific date by double-clicking the calendar and choosing when you want it to be booked. Then in the note, we're going to add book PAP appointment. And if this is a recurring task that needs to be done every 3 years, we can use this recurring task option at the bottom. If you don't see this right away, it may be closed or compressed here. So if it is closed like this, you would just use the little arrow on the side to expand the recurrence option. So for us, we're going to change this to every 3 years until, and we can just double click here. And let's say we want it for the next 10 years. Now this task will pop up in Jamie's inbox every 3 years for the next 10 years. We're going to say okay, and there it goes. All right, so now Dr. Square is going to move to her labs folder. We have a lab result test from our patient, Bob Diamond. Bob Diamond went for a glucose test, and we can see here that it's come back with an elevated AC1 flag. Dr. Square would like her staff to call the patient and book a follow-up ASAP. So we're going to use our new task button here on the side. Because we had selected Bob Diamond before we opened the task, we have Bob Diamond listed up here. And we can select multiple recipients to assign this to if we needed to. There's different ways to select multiple recipients. If we wanted to select the whole list, we could click at the top, hold down Shift, and select the bottom to highlight the whole list of recipients. You can also hold down Control and select different ones by moving your mouse down and clicking. And then you can message or send a task to everyone under a certain role by selecting the role, and it'll turn blue, and then both recipients here will be selected. Our task is going to be book patient, and our priority is urgent for this one. And we're going to have the due date as today. In our note, we're going to write elevated AC1. Please call patient and book him in. This is not a recurring task, so we're just going to use a little arrow to close that down. And all the patient-related tasks that we're creating here will be documented in the patient's chart directly. So you can always go to the virtual chart to look at these tasks. And if we say OK, that's going to send it off. So no in-person verbal communication is needed here. Also, this is not a sticky note that's easily lost. So tasks shine when work needs to be assigned, tracked, documented, and completed with clear accountability. So now let's switch into creating some mail messages. We're going to switch from Dr. Square's Accuro over to Jamie Ark, the receptionist / admin here. So Jamie Ark is working away, and she's in her mail section in the home tab of Accuro. A patient, Kelly Hart, has called into the clinic. Get this out of the way here. A patient has called in concerned about some adverse reactions to her new medication. So Jamie is going to create a message for Dr. Square in here using our new message option right there. All right, so the patient we can see is also still loaded here because we had Kelly Hart selected as our globally selected patient, and the subject line is just going to be an area we can type into, and we're going to put medication review. The priority we're going to put as urgent as the patient's experiencing some negative side effects, and in the body of the message, I'm just going to copy and paste this in just to save time. There we go. So Kelly has called in as she needs a medication review of her citalopram. She's experiencing some negative reactions. So from here, we're just going to click send, and that will go to Dr. Square. Next example of a mail message is that Jamie is ordering some new surgical gloves for the clinic, but cannot remember what size Dr. Square prefers. So she's going to quickly create a new mail message, and she has Dr. Square as the recipient. And because this is not a patient-related message, we're going to uncheck the patient tab here. This also works in tasks if you're creating non-patient-related tasks. Our subject is going to be supply order. So priority is normal, and then in here we're just going to put putting in an order for surgical gloves. What size do you prefer? Perfect. And then from here we're just going to send at the bottom there. Another third example of a mail message is that Jamie has booked Friday off. She's going to enjoy a nice long weekend, and she just wants to remind Dr. Square that she's going to be away tomorrow. So we've created a new mail message, and we're going to uncheck the patient as it's not a patient-related message, and we're going to put out of office tomorrow, normal priority. And in the body of the message, we're just going to put just a reminder, I am booked off for tomorrow. Have a great weekend. And send. Oh, and we see Dr. Square over here as our recipient, so we're going to send. All right, so why this is mail and not a task? Well, there's no direct action required other than a response. There's no due date, no ownership is needed, and we're just sharing information to keep everyone informed. So if nothing particularly needs to be done, but the team should know about it. It belongs in the mail section. So we're going to stay in Jamie's Accuro here and go over how to manage our task inbox when we're sent tasks. So we're going to switch to the tasks inbox, and we can see the two tasks here, one for Vicky Triangle and one for Bob Diamond. The reason the colors are different is based on the priority, which is normal or urgent, showing in red. All right, so in the home section, you'll see your tasks at up at the top. We have our filters underneath, kind of in the middle here. And then full task information will display down below once we select a task at the top. You can see it display down here. This becomes your electronic to-do list. And you can resize this area by using these three little dots in the middle here and clicking on them and moving the section up or down. You may notice that these colors are different between Jamie and Dr. Square, and you can change the color just by right-clicking and going to change background. So right-click, change background, and then pick your color. I recommend to stick to the top row of colors, as anything below that can be kind of difficult to look at all day long. They're kind of intense colors other than the top row. All right, so from here, you can filter by status, reason, role, and office to. We recommend having your filter set to overdue, as it'll show everything that's due today or was previously due, and excludes any tasks that are due tomorrow or after, keeping you focused on what needs to be done today. And then if we select a task from the top here, we're just going to pick on Vicky's to start with. And then we have some actions at the bottom down here. So we have completed, which will clear this out of our inbox. We have message left, no answer. New conversation to message the person who had sent this to us. Tasks, which show a complete list of all the tasks due for this patient. Print, remove if it was created an error, and then fax. So let's walk through how Jamie would complete these tasks here. All right, so Jamie's already selected the task for Vicky Triangle, and it's displayed down below. She's used the overdue filters to prioritize her work, and Jamie's going to call the patient Vicky Triangle, but Vicky doesn't pick up. So Jamie's just going to click on message left because she was able to leave a voicemail for the patient. We can see here this auto documents into the task and adds a timestamp as well. So if you came back, you could always show that you had followed up on the task at on June 18th at 12:18 p.m. So all the progress is documented within the task. Later on in the day, she calls Vicky again and books her in. No other action is needed here other than clicking completed, which will clear the task out of her inbox. And there it goes. This task is now stored in the completed folder and also can be reviewed on the patient's chart if it's a patient-related task. If we go to the tasks here, we see there's a little arrow to the left. And if we click on that, we have our three inboxes. Our inbox completed, where we can see that one for Vicky Triangle, and then sent. If we had sent out any tasks, they'd be in here as well. Okay, so example 2, we have Bob Diamond here, and we see that they have an elevated AC1, and we need to call the patient and book them in. So Jamie also sees up here, let me just see. Oh, sorry, I meant right here. They can see right here that it's assigned to the role of reception. It's not necessarily assigned just to Jamie Ark. So Jamie wants to let everyone else who's assigned to the task know that she's going to take on this task and complete it. So to take ownership, we can just double click the task from the top. And then from here, there is a checkout option at the bottom of the expanding task menu. So if we click on checkout, this now will tell anyone else who's assigned to the task that it is checked out to Jamie here. And we'll just say, okay. All right, so Jamie's checked out the task. And she's going to look through the scheduler here, but looks like Dr. Square wants to see this patient really soon. So Dr. Square is all booked up. So Jamie's going to send a new conversation to Dr. Square. So when we click on new conversation, this will open up and there's some options at the bottom. We can add just a general note to the task here, or we can message the sender of the task. So we're going to use the single recipient option, which is just this little silhouette here, which will just message the sender. If we use the multiple recipient, that will add all assigned owners of the task as recipients. And then we're just going to write in our message here. I'm just going to, again, just copy and paste the message in just to save us time. So you're all booked up this week and next, but would you like to squeeze him in at the end of your day on Tuesday? Question mark. And then we're going to share, which will send that over to Dr. Square. All right. Now we're going to quickly switch over from Jamie to Dr. Square. Dr. Square goes to her mail here. And we can see that the task, book patient, she sent a message to Dr. Square. So the messages that come from tasks will go to the mail section because mail holds all the messaging. But we can see it's specifically related to the task of book patient. So Dr. Square is going to select this and see the response. Oh, we're all booked up this week, but do you want to squeeze the end of the day on Tuesday? And then Dr. Square is going to reply to this. We just clicked reply here. And then we're just going to have Jamie Ark already listed as the receptionist or as the recipient, pardon me. And then we're going to type out our message again to save time. I'll just copy and paste. Yes, Tuesday, end of day will work. And then we'll click share. Now, Dr. Square doesn't have to do anything else with this. So Dr. Square is just going to click review to clear this message out of her inbox. And if we head over to Jamie and her mail, we'll see the task book patient has sent a message back. So we can click on this here and we can see the response. Yes, Tuesday, end of day will work. So Jamie books the patient in, gives him a call to let him know when he's booked, and then she reviews the message to clear it out of her inbox, or mail inbox, and goes to her tasks, and then selects the task. We can see the mail is also saved into the task here as well. So technically we didn't have to go back and forth to the mail section. We would also see it here, but we can click completed on this task now because the patient is all booked in. All right, perfect. So something else I just wanted to mention are a couple little tips and tricks. So if a task is assigned to one user here, we'll just pick on this task. We can reassign it to someone else by double clicking on it and selecting a new user on the side here. And then that would reassign the task to the other user. So tasks can be reassigned to someone else. Also, if you have a staff member who has a lot of tasks and then they have to leave or are no longer employed and you need to switch all those tasks over to a new employee, you can do that as well on a large scale. So that needs to be done by a system admin, and it can be done through the menu of Accuro. And if we just go to users here, there's a reassign tasks option. You would pick the from user and then the to user, and then you can pick the dates of the tasks as well. Do after and do before, and then reassign. And that'll move all the tasks over from one user to another user here. All right. So let's go over to our mail here. We talked about the tasks. We're going to head over to our mail and we're going to switch over to Dr. Square to do that. So Dr. Square is in her mail section in the home option of Accuro. In the mail, you also have this little arrow which expands the folders. So you have inbox, reviewed, and sent. From here, we can close this with the little arrow, and then we can see our mail at the top, and this will expand down below when selected, as we can see here. The layout is very similar to your tasks inbox with a few differences. The actions include review, which is the same as complete, reply, forward, reply all, general note, message left, no answer, delete if it was created an error. file, print, attachments if it had attachments, and fax. So mail keeps communication organized without creating unnecessary task tracking. So let's go through how Dr. Square and Jamie manage these inboxes. So Dr. Square sees that Kelly Hart has called in because she needs a medication review of her citalopram. She's going to reply back to Jamie here with the reply button. And we're just going to say, book patient in for appointment to review meds. And then send. This will send over to Jamie here. And now we don't need this in our inbox anymore, so we can always review it to clear it out. If Jamie replies or when Jamie replies back, it'll bring it back into our inbox. So right now we're just going to clear that out because we don't have anything else to do with it. We've already replied. Now we have our supply order. Putting in an order for surgical gloves. What size do you prefer? Dr. Square is going to reply back. I am size medium. And send. Again, there's nothing else she has to do, so she's going to click review to clear that out of her inbox. Then Dr. Square sees that Jamie is away for tomorrow. We see the message here, and that's great. There's nothing else we have to do. We just review to clear it out. All right, so Dr. Square has cleared out all of her mail messages. Now, if we head back over to the admin, Jamie here, we see she has some mail messages as well. So in here, we can see for the message for Kelly Hart, the patient who needed the medication review. We can see Dr. Square has replied back, book patient in for an appointment to review meds. So Jamie goes and checks the schedule for Kelly's appointment and sees that Kelly already has a follow-up booked at the end of July. So she wants to clarify if Dr. Square wants to see her earlier than that. She's just going to reply and then say, again, I'm just going to copy and paste to save time here. Kelly has a follow-up booked in July, but do you want me to squeeze her in before then? Just going to send it off here. And then review to clear this out because, again, once the doctor replies, it's going to bring it back into the inbox. In the supply order, she sees Dr. Square's reply here that she is a size medium, and she puts in an order of medium surgical gloves and then reviews this to clear it out. All right. Oh, and then also this one for the patient's normal creatinine results. Jamie takes note of that. So if the patient ever calls in, she'll know this. And this is also going to be attached to the patient's chart. So she's going to review it as there's nothing else she needs to do now. So if everything became a task, inboxes would become overwhelming. Mail keeps communication efficient and lightweight. A couple little other tips and tricks to go through is you can add additional mail inboxes here if you needed to. So we have the 3, but if I was to select one of these and then use the file option here, we can then choose to manage folders. And then we can create another folder, like, for example, if we wanted a follow-up folder, something like that, or a tracking folder to track important mail messages. We can say okay and close and okay. And then now in our mail, we have the 4 inboxes. So you can customize those as you see fit. Another helpful tip is that if you use F7 on your keyboard, it'll bring up the patient that you have selected's patient tasks list. So this will show any tasks that are created by any user for this patient that are outstanding. F7. Also in this menu, you can open it up in any area of Accuro. You just press F7 on your keyboard, or if you're on a Mac, you have to use Function and then F7. So you can also create new tasks and new mail messages from the right side here. So let's just close this. All right. So We've seen the internal communication, both tracked and conversational. So now let's connect your clinic to your patients. Patient messaging, also known as health mail, allows external communication to patients and requires an Accuro subscription, Accuro Engage subscription. You can quickly send attachments to patients from Accuro by right-clicking on the attachment in the labs or documents folder and using send to patient. Let's quickly go back to Dr. Square, and she has her lab here for Molly Oval with normal results. A workflow the doctor could have used is right-clicking on the lab and using send to patient. This will open up health mail with the attachment already attached, and if we say okay, the patient's name is loaded here. So we can say normal results, results are normal, no need for follow-up. And then at the bottom of the message, we can choose to add more attachments, save as a draft, or you can send the message closed or open with these two buttons on the side. Sending closed means patient cannot reply, whereas sending open means the patient can reply. So if we select send, and once we've sent the message, we can also close it with the little X in the chat bubble here. All the patient messaging is also saved in the patient's virtual chart. So in closing, mail is for conversation and tasks are for accountability. Patient messaging connects you securely to patients. When used together, they eliminate sticky notes, improve accountability, and improve accountability and streamline clinic workflow. These tools aren't just features, they provide a safer and more efficient patient care. So this presentation was recorded and will be available alongside our other webinar presentations on our Accuro resources page, which is right here. So you can get to our resources pages at accuroemr.com/support. This will bring you to this page where you can search for what you're looking for, browse by category, talk with our little chat bot, view all of our training resources, view common support items, and then our webinar series is right here. So this is the one we had today. We'll be putting up new ones that we're presenting very soon that you can register for, and you can see our past webinars with this option here. So thank you so much for attending. Please stick around for a poll. Your feedback is appreciated and helps us produce the training content you wish to see. Thank you again for everyone attending.